Hey, everybody, it's me, your old buddy Bob, and welcome to another episode of Naked Lunch. We're in for a special treat today. We've got Her Holiness, Her Eminence, the Very Reverend Felicia Parazaider with us today. How are you, Rev?
Where's the track of the laughter or the
applause? I'm going to edit that in later. This is the COVID, the quarantine. There's no more live audio. Oh, hold on a second. I got to take a bite here.
Oh, is that the white on white?
You know
You're
what?
Killing me here, Bob.
This one, it came back in the mail like last week. I'd sent it out to a client about a year ago, and I guess, but it's still fresh, like the day I made it. Okay.
Well, it's kind of like that fine wine. It just sort of just ages and all its splendor.
I'm way ahead of you.
I can't indulge.
Folks, by the way, we have not scripted this at all. We are completely winging it because I do not believe in preparation, right? I know you don't.
No, zilch, nada, zippo.
So
no, but Bob, I have to tell you, I'm so honored to be your favorite guest.
You are.
I'm really, that was so nice when you said that I'm going to be your favorite guest, and this is going to be your favorite show, and everyone else's. So yeah.
Let me ask you a personal question as we start. I'm not trying to mock you, but I thought this was a good look, right? You're the Reverend, yet I'm wearing what do they call these, by the way?
Clerical collar.
Clerical collar, okay.
Yes.
Is yours made out of toilet paper?
I actually do have one. I was going to wear it, but I often wear a stole instead. So
is that right? So, but you don't go as crazy.
No, I do. I really do. In fact, I don't know. You've seen the picture, Bob, of me getting arrested with the collar on and all of that.
Yep.
So yeah, folks might be. Should we talk about that?
I think we should talk about your activism and your marching in the desert. And by the way, your mugshot looks almost as good as mine because I also spent a few days, courtesy of Clark County. It was a mission of mercy.
Oh Lord! Did you find that?
Well, it's the internet. It's the internet. Come on, I can find anything I want.
Oh my gosh! You might have to put that up there, Bob, and when you edit this.
Here's what's important. As we chat, I want this to be about you, okay? Because I'm very secure in my everything. So I want to hear more about you. But what I will say, before we start talking about what you're doing, your ministry and the elephant in the room, which is what's happening right now in our society. I'm watching a trial over, a man being killed. We could talk about this until the end of time, and it's important. It's important to talk about, and we're gonna hit on these things, but. I do want to say that I did spend a few days incarcerated. There you go. And you're able to request stuff. You can get someone to put money into a little account. Maybe you experience that where you can order some Chip Ahoy cookies or some water or a Pepsi, whatever. You know what I requisitioned? A Bible. Because you got this little library thing with books that all the last chapters have been taken out. So you spend 2 days reading a book and now you don't know how it ends. But and the day that I was released, and it was due to my attorney's error. I had not committed any kind of crime, but I had to pay for his I atoned or whatever you guys call that. I paid for that. And because of that, there is now a Bible, hopefully still, in cell block 5 North A or whatever. So there you go. How about that?
Wow. Do you remember what you read?
No, but I am. I don't remember, but I'm right now in reading the Bible in a year, and I started that last year, and I'm 4 months behind, but I just entered Revelation and Zacharias or one of those guys in the Old Testament. So I'm just about done, a little bit behind. But here's our first question, Rev. How does the Rev become a Rev? Tell us the story, please.
Well, it all started in 1974 in San Fernando Valley. No, it's funny. I was a musician in my other life. I like to say I was a very talented musician. I started in music just like my dad. But then as my teen years wore on, I had a lot of different struggles and trials, tribulations, and that's all on the internet as well.
Right.
People can find that, and I give talks about it because they're all really important teaching stories. So when I started, coming out of the doldrums and all of the chaos and crazy making stuff that I had been doing, and for good reason, I should add, for good reason. We cope the way that we can, even if it's not healthy. By that point, I would say like 23, 24, 25. And, once I really got my feet on the ground and was beginning my healing journey, I realized like music wasn't going to be it. I was kind of like, okay, well, let's face it, the classical world, you can't miss time,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway, I was at a Carl's Jr. and I went through the drive-through. This was on my 28th birthday now.
Okay.
So I was a few years clean and sober. I'm clean and sober 21 years now. At that point, I was a few years in, and I was at this Carl's Jr. in Sun Valley, of all places, in California, at 2 a.m. on my 28th birthday, I guess it was. And I ordered some jalapeno poppers and whatever else I got. Pull around to the drive-through window to pay, and there's this guy who appears to be homeless, and we start having this conversation, and he ends up telling me, Bob, I used to be somebody.
Mm.
And I was just kind of struck in that moment, and I went, you still are. I didn't really know. I was kind of fumbling. In those days, I fumbled a lot more. I didn't really know what to say to him. Do I make him feel better? It was all that
Sure.
kind of weird privilege stuff. And then he said, I haven't seen my wife and my kid in 10 years. Wow. And so this conversation ensued. And meanwhile, my jalapeno poppers aren't coming, or my onion rings, whatever the heck. And this conversation happens, and there's this connection made. And at the end of it, I just said, don't give up, man. Like, don't lose hope. Don't give up. And I asked him his name, which I never say that part. That's my own little part that I always have kept. And we shook hands. And when I drove away, I kid you not, it was like a lightning bolt. Like I just went, Felicia, you have had so much go down in your life, and you're still here breathing in and out. And you need to do something to serve. Like, do something. And this guy, who knows if he's even alive right now, Bob?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was that. Let's see, I'm 46 now. I was 28 then. My gosh, time flies.
Right.
But it was a lightning bolt. It really was. And but I didn't know it was ministry. I just thought, speak and write and serve, and like that maybe that will help folks. But then as time went by, it became more clear, like. But yeah, so that's the reverend part. That's the reverend part.
What's interesting about that is you were struck by that lightning bolt after you had already, in essence, served by encouraging. And so maybe, that spirit was already there, and it's probably in all of us to some point. It's accessing it or utilizing it. What are your thoughts on that?
That's interesting. Yeah, I do believe that the reason we're here is to serve. And I believe the reason we're here is to, and I say serve instead of help, because help sounds like, oh, let me help you.
Yeah, hand out, and people don't want to hand out.
I don't want to do that. Yeah. But like serving, there's a more, meaningful bent to that. And yeah, I mean, I look at my life when, even when I was a kid, I had a heart of service and also like a real mystical heart. Like I was very fascinated by religion and all religions. And so that's why for me, I went to an interfaith seminary school to study all different religions and all of that. So you've probably got me beat on the Bible, because I would not profess to say even that I'm a theologian. I'm someone that loves creating connections. If I can serve in the way of I was going to say helping folks get more connected to a God of their own understanding, then that's great. And also like bringing communities together. So, but I don't profess to know scripture through and through. Like when you were talking about earlier, I've studied different religions and different scriptures for sure. But I think I might have missed your question. What was the hone in on that again? Can you?
Now I got to rewind the tape. Let me call the control room and see if they're monitoring this. No, I think you did, and I guess what I want to comment on that is it's interesting that you are interfaith and focused more on the here and now, and yes, spirituality, of course, but imagine 7 billion people on the planet. Christians are only a fraction of that, if that, and so that means everyone else is wrong. Everyone else is going to burn for eternity. Everyone else, and I'm a Christian. I do believe in Jesus, the messenger, and the words of the Bible. However, I don't sit in judgment because until I'm there, I don't know. Faith is such a personal thing, and we each, process it and live it to however that works for us. So, and I'm going to get a little bit political, and I'm sure you might have thoughts on this too, and I want to hear them. In this day and age, we just had a leader of the free world that was supported in large part by people that profess to be evangelical followers of God, and yet was so diametrically opposed. It boggles the mind. Was it boggling your mind from a faith perspective? No. Really?
No, I mean, here's the thing. I would delineate it in saying, was I surprised? No. Is it absolutely disturbing and egregious? Yes. Okay. And should it always be? Absolutely yes. It should be looked at as an ashanda, I think is the Yiddish word, like a travesty, of the soul. But it isn't. I don't spend too much time even going into that as much as I think just that we got to do the work. We need to continue to educate ourselves and on white supremacy culture, which we have all suffered from and under, and we're all in like a fishbowl. We're all in that, and so to me, it's really imperative that I just keep on, I want to say like batten down the hatches. I don't know if that's a really good expression, but just keep doing the work, and then prayerfully bringing folks together and igniting them to continue to educate themselves and dismantle these systems and structures of violence that are even within ourselves.
Yeah. You often reach out and ask, how is it with your soul? How is it with your soul? Because you're carrying not only your own, but the burdens of others who are struggling through not only this time of quarantine and COVID, but the religious turmoil and upheaval and lack of focus and, all these things. And yet you are leading a ministry, the revolution of love. So that makes you the Rev of love. I don't know if you probably figured out that, right? Is that a good, what do you call that? Like our slogan is, let's get naked, right? That's my slogan here on my naked lunch. So you are the Rev of love. Anyway, how do you...
That's a whole other revolution of love.
There you go. That brings me back to the 80s in the San Fernando Valley, but we don't want to go there. So how do you handle that as just a human being that's has this mission, and yet you have to live it too? It can't be easy.
Right. It's, and I appreciate you asking how it is with my soul. Thank you, Bob. I mean, really,
look, I'm a man of the cloth after all. So,
Yes, you are. You really stepped into this role today. I have to say, at role.
Hey.
Hey, there it is. No, but seriously, I do appreciate it because clergy, in my opinion, have been first responders during this time of pandemic. There's been no breaks for any of us, and that's how it is. That's that going into this life, when you say yes, when you make those vows, and today I'll be honest, I'm tired, but that's okay. My faith is strong, and this is fun. Getting to connect. Really everything's about connection, in my opinion. Like everything is. Without connection, we're lost. And so, it's like I'm looking at my calendar, looking at everything I'm doing today, and I see, Bob and I are on, it's like, this is a connection. And because I'm such an extrovert, to me, I get juiced. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it's like, it's manna, it's food. So that gives me a little more energy. And then the other aspect, as far as being fatigued, there's self-care, and to people that might be viewing this, I pray that, like, everybody's taking really good care of themselves, like, and that can look like a lot of different things, like, before you and I started recording, it's like, there's laughing, like, we need to laugh.
Yeah.
We need to have levity in our life. The videos that you do, they are funny. We need to laugh. There's so many different things that we can do to help ourselves. So for me, that looks like, I recently got into, this might sound funny, but doTERRA essential oils. A friend of mine has been selling doTERRA essential, and it's been really great. I've been utilizing that as a self-care thing. I have my smoothie that I have for self-care. I have my little dog sitting on my lap that I walk. I'm at my parents' house here in Nevada, and so, and of course prayer and Lectio Divina, practicing Lectio Divina. I love doing that. So, but there's also another aspect too, and that's community care, which is something that I've learned about in, like, doing anti-oppression work and deep culture work. And, community care is different. That's, I think, something that we forget because we're so individualistic. We're so, like, such individuals, like, oh, we got to do it all ourselves, self-care. And it's like, what about checking in on each other? You know what I mean? Like, what about bringing food, or doing, even in COVID, just, hey, picking up the phone and saying, how are you? Not just texting, forget texting.
Yeah. I'm old school that way. I will say that even with the convenience of the internet, my life was way better pre-1996. So me and Al Gore, we've got issues, okay? And he invented the internet. But I want to go back to when the COVID started. I was attending a church here in Vegas that I went on a trip to Israel about a year and a half ago with them. It was a 10-day, fantastic, best trip I ever took. I've done a lot of traveling, and that was just incredible on all fronts. When the COVID hit, I volunteered to be on Team COVID Task Force, or whatever we called ourselves. And we, every one of us had a list of maybe a couple dozen people, and once a week we would call them and check in. How are you doing? These are strangers. I don't know who they are at all, right? Do you need anything? Are you shut in? Do you need someone to go to the store? We were still hoarding back then. People, you couldn't buy half of the stuff on the shelves were empty, and they're shut-ins, elderly, whatever. So I would call these people, and we did this for a while. And what I found really interesting, and maybe you've experienced this too, is pretty much everyone, oh, I'm fine. No, I'm good. Can we pray for you? Can we? No, I'm good. Everyone was good. They're all self-reliant, no hassle, no big deal. Got it covered, man. And that sort of surprised me. I might have had one person, a lady that said, I'm struggling with something. Please pray for me, and then we would turn in the prayer requests. And, maybe it was early on in the quarantine where it wasn't quite, but now we're a year into this thing.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you, I'm sorry, I'm trained in spiritual psychology. So, like, and I was a chaplain, so I listened to all the stuff that's even not spoken. When was this was this like in March, April?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right as after about 5-6 weeks.
Interesting. Yeah. I would venture to say, and I mean, I don't mean to, like, speak for these folks by any means. I'm just kind of chewing on this, that was so terrifying. I mean, anyone that says they weren't, like, at least at the minimum jostled by the fact that the world shut down. I mean, California, in LA, it was a ghost town, Bob. I mean, you didn't hear anyone on the streets. It was bizarre, right? So my venture, what I would say is, I wonder how many folks were actually kind of doing that thing of, I'm good, everything's fine. And, like, internally there was that battle kind of going on, but it's the way that we also cope. It's a defense mechanism also from the fright of what what we were up against. So in a way, like by just saying, yes, I'm good, everything's fine.
Yeah,
It's like,
you know what?
and
sorry to interrupt you. That's human nature, but
right.
I'm a whiny little crybaby. If I stub my toe, you're going to hear about it. That's just how I am. You know, I'm never going to pretend to be something I'm not. When I see posts on social media, hey, zippity doo da 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 da, I don't believe them at all for a second. Those are the ones I worry about. The ones that got it all together, and maybe they do. I doubt it. No one has it all together.
Well, it's good that I think some folks do that. Actually, what if that is in fact what was going on? We're trying to like keep what is that? Keep a brave face.
Right. Because stiff upper lip, all that stuff.
It's better for the psyche. It's better actually for someone's psyche until they're ready to go.
Really,
okay. And you also, you're different that way. You're very forthcoming, and everyone has a different way of expressing. And I think that is that's a good thing, to be able to to say, hey, this is what's happening for me right now. But because it's honest, and in fact, that's a whole thing we could go for like an hour on. I've been on this kick as far as honesty.
Really?
And talking about the people. Yeah, the people that make it in this life, I really believe. And when I say make it, I don't mean material gain or success. I mean the people that really change from, like, that have, we've all had trauma. We've all had childhood wounding, all of us, And so like the people that really shift into a new place in their lives where they're functioning, they're thriving. I believe those are the people that are really honest. They're honest about who they are, and therefore they need to shift and change. Anyway, it's a big thing lately. It's been. I'll say it like this: I recently lost someone to suicide, someone very, very close to me, and I remember when I said that this was all going to be fun and games, Bob, and it's got real serious. But
wait, hold on. Sorry to interrupt you. How's my hair? Is it on?
Yeah.
How's my hair? Is it on straight? Do you like my new little chinny chin? See, I'm trying to lighten things up. But that's a good look for you, by the way. I love that look. This is called I go to the barber. I used to go to the barber a couple years ago.
Right.
I went to, and the gal always goes, so what would you like? And one day I said, well, make me look like Brad Pitt. So she handed me 6 kids. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now I go, make me look like the Rev Felicia, and they know exactly what to do. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah,
okay.
There it is.
Okay, now back to you do that yourself, right? Number 2.
It's a 1.5.
1.5.
Close.
Okay, very good.
I do it myself. Yeah.
Nice.
I do. So, but about the honesty part, I'm really jonesed about this, Bob, because when I knew this person very well, I remember seeing the inability that they had, through maybe no fault of their own, to be honest. And it always, at the time, it really scared me. One of the lessons that I had to get was, to understand that like people really do have their own path, and that's really hard to accept, right? But so when I got this news about 1 month ago, it was, I was obviously in shock initially, but then I kept thinking about this piece around honesty on so many different levels, not just this person, but like even as a country. Like, could you imagine if we were really painstakingly honest about where we've been for how many hundreds of years, and it just that real gut level, brutal honesty. What would life look like on the macro level, not just in our individual relationships, but in like I said, in the U.S. And I think we are seeing a lot of people shift into that.
Are you
slowly?
Are you seeing that? Because I'm of the opinion that nobody cares, and very few people care, and we're selfish and we're arrogant and we're self-proclaiming how great we are and we're the hardest workers and the smartest and the best and the on and on and on and on at the expense of others, and that worries me, because that's not how we succeed, how we prosper, how we thrive. it's the interaction. We just had a year where we're doing this. We're on a Zoom call, as opposed to let's go have some coffee, and that concerns me. But you're in the trenches and you have your weekly services and whatnot. So you're talking to people. Tell us more about that what you're getting from people on an individual basis as to their hope. We have to have hope. How is that playing out?
Well, I would say as far as the word I'll use, like consciousness and or awareness, and with as it relates to honesty and just people waking up, I think we did see some of that in 2016. I think there were a lot of folks, I will say, in the white liberals, I think were genuinely shocked that Trump could get elected. And what that did was it was like an earthquake where people went, oh my God. And I had friends that often thought the work that I had been doing for many years and human rights and social justice, Felicia's too intense and, she's so this or that. All of a sudden they're out marching, they're all of a sudden out in the streets, which was great. I was like, wow, this is it. And of course there's always the drop off. There's the drop off, then people get apathetic again and they get tired, especially white folks, because if it's not directly impacting us, which it actually is to a certain point, if we really believe in interconnectedness and care, but if it's not on our doorstep, then it's like, well, whatever. So, we saw a lot of folks, yes, go back to sleep, but we also saw a lot of people still stay with it and still keep their foot in it, so to speak, and continue to, or rather maybe just start doing some work. So I would say that in some ways, we've just seen the atrocity and this, the hatred and the violence and cruelty, on so many levels, just exposed in a way that is it's like oozing. It's gross to say like this, but it's like this oozing infection that has been. And then there's the aspect that there are some folks that are really folks that look like you and I, talking about white folks that are actually doing really incredible work. I mean, lifting up the work right now of Surge. Surge is showing up for racial justice. That's all white identified people. And they've been doing the work for so long. Sometimes we don't hear it though. We don't always hear about this. Yeah. So I think it's really important to, stay in the work and look for the folks that are doing this, whether it's racial justice or immigrant rights or, however it calls somebody. So, but yeah, there's going to be some people, they're just off the deep end. God bless them. We pray for them and we keep it moving. I'm not going to try and reach folks. If people are still Trump supporting, I'll say I'm very outspoken, obviously.
Sure,
if they are still supporting people, rallying around a figure that is completely aligned with hatred and violence, I have no time. There's so many other people here, Bob, that are let's do this. Let's create positive transformation. Yeah. Those are the people that we need to stick with. These folks over here, if they haven't joined the party by now and haven't had a come to Jesus moment, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not sure. We pray for them, keep it going.
Good points. What's frustrating for me is that many of the, let's call it the Trump supporters, are doing it in the name of Jesus, and Jesus doesn't need them as a spokesperson, just doesn't, And I'm going to be interested. I want front row seats up at St. Peter's Gate. I want to be there in the front row, and I just do. And okay, we're going to switch gears for a second. Doing what you do requires a lot of discipline. And do you think that stems from, growing up, being a concert pianist, being in a musical family that made it to a high level, that requires a lot of discipline, a lot of focus. You can't just fake your way through that kind of thing. Is that something that was instilled and that you had even very young growing up, even though you ended up not pursuing the musical thing, the discipline it took to do well, now is translating over into your ministry?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that I mean, that is my makeup. I'm very thorough, very conscientious, and I don't stop. And that's been, or I should say it like, I won't stop until I get enough. Sorry, Michael Jackson reference.
Now, let me get my bass, okay? Yeah. I happen to know that one.
No, I won't stop.
Okay, enough of that, Bob. We're going to play Name That Tune, by the way.
Anyway. I love it. It's just great. No, I think that's my makeup, but on another aspect of it is that the work that I'm dedicated to, which is creating, like I said, creating positive change, justice, bringing justice, being a change agent. It just has to be done. So like, I mean, there's no other way to really say it. It's like, I got to do it, and so I'm sure, yes, some of it's just my personality, but there's also this is why I'm here. So I know that. I don't know. I mean, I've known that for at least, 20 years more clearly. But when I think about myself as a child, I was writing prayers for peace when I was, as soon as
Really?
the paper you write on.
Yeah.
There's that paper with the dashed lines. And I found that when I was leaving LA to go to Berkeley. I remember 2006, I told my mom, look at this. And there's a prayer that says, we must love everybody. We must change the world. We must bring peace. I mean, I don't know how old I could have been. I was, learning to, so that was already on my heart. But yeah, so to me, it's just, I just look at this like, we've got to do this. Like, we have to create, I mean, it's like you were saying before, I mean, this Derek Chauvin's trial, like, this is happening, right? I mean, this shit needs to change, like, period.
Absolutely.
Pardon my swearing, but I'm emphatic about this. You got people dying in the streets. You've got people dying in their beds. Breonna Taylor being murdered in her sleep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let me
unacceptable.
Let me be devil's advocate. You see what I did there, for a second. So many throughout history, Jesus himself, obviously, he had to do what he did. It was part of the master plan, but it hasn't turned out well and played out well. Or we have all these laws that were passed in the 6 civil rights laws for housing and for other things, and so legally, by the law, now you can't discriminate. You can't do this. You got to do this. But the hearts, that's what matters. And it seems like none of that's changing at all, except for maybe a pocket here and a pocket there, and 5 people here and 20 people there. At what point? At what point? It's a never-ending battle. Does that ever overwhelm you?
I don't let it. I can't. We just got to keep doing the work. And, when I went to Black Lives Matter LA, and I'm really missing BLM LA right now, they're still out there on Wednesdays. But when I was still living in LA, well, I do live there. Sorry. Anyway, when I was going in like August and September and witnessing their ability to the way they organize, and their presence, it was really remarkable to watch. And what they were doing there was they were rallying outside the hall of what they say injustice, not the hall of justice, but the hall of injustice, and protesting against Jackie Lacey, the then DA, and saying Jackie Lacey must go, Jackie Lacey will go. And sure enough, Jackie Lacey went. Jackie Lacey's gone. She's not the DA in LA anymore. And seeing that when she was voted out, and seeing, like, even on Instagram, the live feed of them, like, everybody rejoicing and going, like, and the work continues. But these are the wins that need to be noted, and not in a way of saying, eschewing what's still happening, but I think when you're part of something and part of that cause, there's it just, it ignites you, and you just keep going. You just have to keep going, because there's nothing else to do than that. It's funny. I remember some point during the pandemic, Bob, I was getting just, I don't know if I was down. I don't really get down. That changed when I was ordained. Once I was ordained, you in a way,
Really?
I haven't lost hope. Yeah, it's really, because there's no, that's the thing. It's like, well, I don't know how to explain it other than you've said yes to the call, and I might have a bad day, but there's none of that luxury that I had before of like, this is rough. And I don't have that luxury anymore. And I'm grateful, because God knows I'm a big personality, and I could really like, it's horrible. It's
Right.
like, it's funny. That just got put in its place for me.
But,
And now it's like
but don't you miss that? Don't you miss some trappings of, look, I'll go down to the corner pub to watch a ball game, and there's a video poker machine, and I get my free glass of crappy wine, and I can sit there for 3 hours watching whatever game and pissing away $100 playing Keno or something. And it's an escape from getting out of I live in a beautiful house. I'm very, very grateful, very blessed. It's like a resort, but I'm here by myself. And at some point it's like, okay, well, I've dusted the east wing. Now I got to go to the south, whatever. And it's like crazy. And right. And I've got Hootie the owl. I got my plastic owl, and he doesn't say much. Doesn't say a whole lot. He's very funny, but he just sort of sits there. So at some point, what does the rev of love do to step away for an hour or two or a day and go out and getting kooky and crazy and just sort of cut loose? I know you do. You have to, because you're a human being. We want the scoop, Rev. We want the scoop.
Here's the scoop.
Don't make me. Really... Okay, so go ahead.
I don't probably lead the most well-rounded life. I will say that. I don't. If there's something, that I don't have hobbies. Like, my hobby, I just said, I'm getting into these doTERRA essential oils. Wow, that's a hobby. I should garden, but I don't have a garden. I live in an apartment in LA. So, I don't know. Like, I've been threatening to take a dance class for like 10 years. I would love to. Do I do it? No. I don't really. I'm not well-rounded. I'm very single. I'm very single-minded, like focused, and that is very indicative of when I studied piano, classical, especially the classical world. So maybe that informs it. I think I'm just sort of built like that. Plus, I just see that the focus. Look, I'm already getting a little tired at times. I notice, like, I'm not going to be in my 40s. I'm coming up soon to 50. Like, I want to, all the energy that I've got, I want to keep that going as much as I can.
I have a song.
You know what I mean?
I have a song for you.
Okay, here it is.
You're turning 50 soon. At some point, you're going to want to hear this.
Yeah.
You need to get a horse.
Can you do take requests?
Sure, of course. Just write it down on a $20 bill.
Oh gosh. No, but seriously, what about like In the Mood? That's one of my dad's favorites.
Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
I was horsing around there. Did you like that? Not bad, huh?
That's
nice tone.
Yeah, it's really good.
I haven't played this thing. I grew up as a horn player. And
wow.
Yeah, and that's what I did. But then in the late 70s, these synthesizers came out, and they could replace a horn section just. So I had to learn another instrument. And drums, that's a lot of schlepping. I'm not the schlepping kind of guy. Guitar, that's like 6 strings. That's too many strings. Keyboards, are you kidding me? You know, bass guitar, bang, just 1 string at a time, lay down a funky groove. And so I got to
see. You know what, Bob? That's a hobby. I have always wanted to play bass.
You should.
So maybe what we could do is you could teach me bass.
I'll tell you what, and you already have. So the thing is, I'm going to turn you on to. There's a gal on Facebook. I think she pronounces her name Gunhild Carling. She's Swedish, and she played with a group called Postmodern Jukebox, doing the old, like the Glenn Miller In the Mood kind of thing. And she plays 28 instruments. Okay, and she's got. And it's like a ministry. She's got a daughter and a son who are teenagers. And then she's got 4 or 5 other. I think they're adopted, and they're like from Pakistan, and they're all ethnicities, and it's fantastic. And they play all this old music from the 20s and 30s, all the old swing, jazz, old school stuff. And every song they're switching instruments. Every one of them play, and they play them well. So the point is, you already have a musical pedigree, and you understand rhythm and notes, and you understand all that music from playing piano. So translating it to another instrument is just a physical thing, meaning, yes, you need some calluses, and you have to learn where to put your fingers, but you already understand, you know, either you have musicianship or you don't, you know? And, and so bass guitar, my long-winded answer is that that's the most important instrument in a band, by far, okay? Bass guitar, there's no other instrument worth playing, truly. Truly. I have toured the world playing my bass guitar, and you know what? Here's what I was the master of. Do 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 do. You know what I was really the master of? I was like the Reverend of Love on bass, and here's what I did. I showed up on time. I knew my parts, and I I'd never played like Jocko or all these guys with the chops and all the slapping and all that. Right. I can do that. I can do that, but I've never gotten a gig because, Bob, we need you to come here and do a 40-minute bass solo and jump around like Flea, you know, and no. I did very well just going do 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 do. Anyway. See?
Wow, yeah.
Impressive, huh?
Well, I've been, like I said, there's certain things that I still would love to do. And who knows how it'll all come. I'm going to actually do a 1-person show. Oh. So you heard it here.
Nice.
Yeah, you heard it here. I'm going to do a 1-person show. And I'm
like comedy, like stand up or something, or what's the content going to be?
It'll be like much of what I'm doing now. My thought was this, that I think there's so much of preaching to the choir, as the saying goes, that I think there's a whole audience of folks that are, like we were talking about earlier, like in the last 4 or 5 years, are really waking up and really interested in change making. And if you create, I don't know, being a creative and being an artist, I was just thinking, what if you're teaching from that place versus just, you know, the classic homily or sermon? If you're, you know, making it entertaining, you know, I'm bringing in maybe my music, all of the things that I've done in my life, and, you know, putting it in this 1-person show, but really secretly teaching. I love it. Teaching nonviolence, teaching, you know, all these different things. I feel that it would be very exciting. And, yeah, I mean, and you see people do that. Yeah. I'm not an actor. I'm not a stand-up comic. Can I carry things, I think, for about an hour? Sure. I've been doing it. So might as well try it and amplify like the fun factor and all those kinds of things.
You know what? First of all, it's better if you're not an actor because it's not genuine. That doesn't mean you go up there and, you know, fumble and mumble and bumble. You know, people need to be entertained, and we have short attention spans and all these things that we already know. But, you know, I was taught this many years ago. Unfortunately, I never followed the advice because I'm kind of that way. I'm one of those guys that never listens to anybody. But nothing personal. I listen to you. But someone once told me it's not what you do. It's not what you do. It's how you do it. Starbucks sells coffee, right? So does 7-Eleven. So you can get coffee anywhere. But Starbucks makes it an experience. The setting, why do you think all these rock star churches out there, they got the big stage and they sound like U2 incarnate, they're playing songs from the and they got the light system and the this and the that and the big screen, and the pastor's got, the hipster glasses and the beard and the skinny jeans, and it's cookie cutter formula stuff, but your message is different. It's not a prosperity Joel Osteen kind of, hey, everyone, give me lots of your money, and I'm going to tell you everything. God's going to smile down on you. Everything. No, that's not your reality. But your ministry that you have behind you right there on that poster, delivered in an entertaining, compelling, non-judgmental way, in a nurturing way that I think it's a fantastic idea. I really do. That might be the way to go.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, it came to me March. It was 2 years ago. Yeah, it was just about 2 years ago. So I've been gestating on it, and then of course when COVID hit, I went, oh crap, and then I went, wait a minute.
What an opportunity!
Everything's online like this. I could literally put like a black screen, or I could just create it, whether I'm in my parents' house in Nevada or in LA. I mean, so really, sky's the limit actually now. So. Yep. Bob, I wanted to ask you. You asked how it was with my soul. How is it with your soul?
Yeah, thanks for asking as well. It's not good. Here's what I know better. Meaning, my faith is simple. My faith is simple. My prayer life is simple. Thank you, Lord. I say that all the time when I'm feeling thankful for something, whatever that might be, a sunset or a nice meal. Well, maybe not that. But seriously, I've got a closing this week in real estate. I'll get a decent check. I'm thankful for that. I pray quite a bit. I'm sorry I let you down, because God has blessed me. I've survived 4 open heart surgeries, and here I am. Yeah. And there must be a reason for that, even if there is. Maybe the reason is there is no reason, because I'll never know. Okay, I'm not planning on getting a calling or a hearing, so I try to maximize what I do. The gal at the checkout stand at the store, I do a little shtick with her, and she'll say, that made my day, or something. Well, that makes me feel good. Or else, give a high five to a little kid at the park, and the parents say, don't ever touch my child again. That doesn't make me feel quite as good. Okay, that was a joke. But the point is I try to be thankful. I try to give back. And yet, after all I've been through, my life is very unfulfilled, very lack of direction, lack of purpose. I get up every morning and I have to hustle my own hope, hustle my own purpose. I have to create and reinvent myself almost on a daily basis as to not only what to do as far as my time making a living. I was working on some music, put a little duo together and do different songs that no one else is. I don't want to play the same. I've never been that guy that wants to play the songs everyone else is playing. I've never been that guy. I always want to do what isn't being done. And I had a bunch of songs sequenced. Well, my computer, somehow on iCloud, it all got lost. Months worth of work. That was very discouraging. And so I haven't got back on that. And so right now, I'm at an age where most of my peers have retired. I'll be 65 in a few months, and I'm still living day to day, and I have been since all the health stuff, because I was never guaranteed waking up the next morning. So for the past 30 years, I've readjusted how I live, because I didn't know if I would wake up the next day, and as a result, I've got some levels of bitterness or disappointment, not with God, but maybe with the universe. And so my soul isn't fulfilled. It just isn't. And one of my curses is I'm fairly bright and I'm fairly talented. And I try to maybe rely on that too much more than I should, as opposed to just, okay, here I am, lump of clay, because I've done that too. And then a week later, I'm like one of my white on white sandwiches. They don't get better with age, So that's sort of a little synopsis. And, I've had people, we'll pray for you. Well, that's fine. I appreciate that. I pray for you. I went to Israel with that church, and he started doing online sermons, the pastor, and we developed a friendship, and I was just starting to go there. So he didn't know me from Adam. They got 1,000 people going there. But in Israel, we bonded. We had dinner a few times together, and we had long chats. And one day he says, I need material. He would have an opening monologue for his online sermons. So I wrote about 12 jokes, and I thought they were terribly funny. And he responded back, these are terribly funny, and never used them. They were having issues with their audio on their online services. And I've been in showbiz 50 years. I used to have a studio in LA. I know audio. And so I volunteered. I said, hey, let me fix I can come in. Not pay me, but here's some things that you could be doing to improve this. Because it was new to them. They didn't know what they were doing. No, thanks. We got it covered. They opened up a branch campus with a worship band that had no bass player. I am a really good bass player.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't need you. And so it just it's like, don't cast your pearls before swine, but they're not swine. They're good people. But they didn't need me. They didn't want me. They didn't need me. And I no longer attend there. They wanted to open up before the governor said it was okay. Don't wear masks. I'm a prime candidate. I've had my shots now. But that was dangerous for me to. So I am disgruntled with the good godly community. And then you add 4 years of a president that was supported mainly by good godly people. I've struggled mightily with all that. So my soul is not where I would like it to be, but I do my best. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Bob, for sharing this with me. There's a lot of things that I hear when you're talking so openly, and it's like, I think back to that connection piece that I mentioned earlier, like to really look, we can probably connect, you could go to wherever and get some coffee and have a moment of connection. Like you were just mentioning, telling a joke to someone, but I think I should amend what I said earlier to have very deep and valued, meaningful connection that's different. And I wonder whether it's you, whether it's me, whoever, I think when we have higher levels of that, we do better. We thrive more when we have higher levels of meaningful connection in our lives, and especially like religious community or music community. So when you ask me how is it with my soul, it is well, all is well, to like answer from like a Wesleyan like Methodist place, all is well with my soul. And am I sort of always restless? Oh yeah. Like is there a lot of agitation? Yeah. I always have that. Like, but that sort of keeps, I wouldn't say, like you used the word unfulfilled. I would say that's there a lot of the time. I think the only difference is there's enough meaningful connection. And I would say that's just because I'm a theist. That's my God. I'm a God person.
Yeah.
So if there's, I wish Roll was on a different night, but we're going to start having, I just talked to another community, Spirit Uncensored, and we're going to have an open mic on Saturday, Saturday evening. So, you're more than welcome to attend that. I've said that to you before. You're always welcome. We would love to have you.
I appreciate that. As you know, Sunday nights when you're on at 6, I'm at my folks playing music with my dad, my 92-year-old dad, and we've got a little duo called the Beer Barrel Boys. Thank you, boys. Wonderful, wonderful. And we do Lawrence Welk songs, and we do some shtick, and it's my dad. He lives for that. All week long. We're doing Facebook Live shows, so that's why I've not been able to been on your Zoom things. But Rev, the Rev of love, everybody. It's time. The big hand is over, and the little hand, and it's. I know you have a 1:30.
It's over already.
It's over.
It just flew.
We're through, finished, kaput. That's it.
Game over.
Game over, baby. Anyway, it's been an honor and a privilege, and the Right Reverend, here she is, folks. Thank you so much. I will put your web information on the bottom of the screen so people, if they watch, they can get in touch with your ministry and everything. And stay safe. Stay away from white on whites.
Maybe we can have a cup of coffee. Coffee.
Let's do it.
It's I'll be here. I'll be here all week.
Yeah, you will. Waiter. Try the veal, right? Everyone say goodbye to the Reverend. Goodbye, Reverend. Thank you so much.
Bye.
We'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much.
All right.